Okay, we ready to reconvene? Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of circle back to the hub. And for anybody that hasn't signed in initially, the first time you sign in, you may see this. So within each environment in ERP, so you said they're basically going to have production when you go live and test. Right, okay, so you're going to have two different environments. Each time you go into each environment for the first time, you may need to establish what your hub landing page is. So once you log in, you're going to see the hub basically in the background with a welcome dialog screen. You'll want to click Financial Management. Then down in the lower right, click Next. And then scroll all the way to the bottom of the various landing pages. And there's an Enterprise ERP landing page. So check that box. And then on the lower right, Next. Then it's just confirming, Next, and done.
So it's good to show this. My goal was to have onboarding, is what Jay just turned on, was to have onboarding turned off and to assign everyone the ERP Enterprise landing page. So hopefully everybody, when you signed in, didn't have to go through that. But if for some reason I missed you, that's how you get to where we have our landing page here. And this is what your screen should look like, with some exceptions. We have fewer options for you, but mostly this is the look and feel you'll see.
Right, so as I kind of mentioned briefly earlier, if you know the line item you want to, or the menu option you want to find, like requisition, or let's say invoice entry, you can type it in, click accept, and it will bring you to the menu option through the search results. Now this is a good example because you're gonna be careful. Invoice entry is AP. If you hover over it, you can see the path: financials, accounts payable, invoice processing. The next one is general billing, which is general revenues, general billing, invoice processing. So two completely different screens and processes, even though they both say invoice entry. Okay, so you want to make sure you select the right one. Over on the right, you'll notice you have a couple of different, well, right now one box for me, recent activity. So if I click that, you're going to see, I'll see all of the menu options that I've recently accessed. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 12 of them on here for me. Okay. If when I go into specific menu options, such as account or invoice processing, invoice entry, you'll notice stars next to them. If you left click on it, it will highlight or fill in that star. It'll also put it in a favorites folder over here under financials, and that will stay there. It's not rotating like the recent activity is, where the latest menu option is there and the bottom one drops off. And you can put as many over here as you need to. So requisitions, so you create your own quasi user-defined menu, if you will, for those items that you normally are going to transact. Okay. There's a couple shortcuts there. I think I mentioned the approval tile, the notification. In the various activities, there's different alerts that can be set up. I don't know, have you set up any alerts for anything? No? Okay. And those alerts would show up if they're relevant to you, or you're set up as a recipient of those alerts over here. The links down here, you know, depending on what your business involvement is, what your needs are, the cards can be modified. At some point, we should get rid of Tyler Technologies and put your Clay County logo up there. And then the links can all be relevant to what you need. So like maybe the treasurer has banking links there. You know, procurement might have, you know, some of their outside links to the different portals. Yeah, so those can be customized as well.
Can you show them how to do day mode or night mode or whatever they call that?
Night mode? I have no idea.
It's under user settings, I think. I can't remember what it's called. But it's where
Over
dark
here?
mode, that's what it is.
Oh, theme?
Yes, your theme.
Okay.
Some people like the dark mode.
And that's all black background?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so just basically it's a black background. Then if you light mode, and match browser setting, so that just piggybacks off what your Google setting is.
So the starred favorites on the left, the star,
Up
upper
here.
just where right there, those should be the same ones you've checked, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is your favorites. Here on the 3 lines, you can also access the Munis menu here, which is going to be, should be identical to what is embedded on your hub card here.
Where'd you click to get that? I didn't see.
The Munis, the other Tyler menu,
Yeah,
it's the 3 lines up here.
thank you.
So not that it happens often, but if you were to ever lose this menu due to some type of a hub configuration or hub user issue, and you need to transact, try clicking this, because there's times when you can lose this menu. This doesn't link directly through the hub permissions per se, so sometimes that menu will show up even if you've lost your menu on the hub card. Not often, but I have seen it, so you know, while this is being fixed, maybe if you can get into it this way.
So there's multiple ways to refresh. Sometimes when things change,
Yeah.
such as there's extra approvals that come in or your menus change, as we go through the settings and update things, your menu might change. So every once in a while, you might want to refresh in different ways.
Yeah, so to refresh the URL, you can refresh the entire URL page up here on this little circle. You can right-click on the URL tile or tab and click reload. You can also hit F5. All 3 of those kind of do the same thing. It refreshes the URL page. And then down here in each of the cards, if you left-click, there's refresh. That will bring in anything that's been released to your approval queue up until that second you're refreshed. On the options, you can set that to refresh periodically at 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, all the way up to 60 minutes, or not at all.
And you can change the color.
Yeah, and you can change the color of the tile here if you choose. Same thing with the notifications. And the alerts. There's also on the Tyler menu, if you left click here, you can refresh here as well. This will, you know, like I think yesterday you changed the menu options for somebody and it wasn't updating. So they came out here, refreshed the menu itself here, and then they showed up.
And another thing it does is if you get too many things open, you're kind of lost on where you are.
Yeah.
You just refresh, it collapses all the menus.
Right. So it'll take it from being a bunch of cascaded, things here, and you're scrolling back and forth trying to remember where you are. Just click up here, refresh, and it'll collapse everything back down.
On the Tyler Links box or card on the right side, we intend to update that, and we'll probably put some links that might be helpful. So that is something that we will work out more as we go along, but look for those to be updated.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they will or if somebody else will, but I notice here I don't have the ready forms. So if I click here, that's just because I have admin permissions. Y'all probably won't get that. There's different things like changing the color of the banner and stuff that the hub administrators, or Benjamin, are you the hub administrator? Benjamin would do.
Can you show them the help buttons on this one?
Yep. So when you come up here to the question mark, you got filtering hub, basic filters, and wherever there's a hyperlink, you can click on those and it will take you into them. Filter cards, which the filtering of the cards and data mining within the cards is an advanced hub session, which, have you had the advanced yet? Not yet. Where you can actually set up for extracting GL data, export it to Excel directly from these cards. You can set up some reporting. So if you open it up and look at the card, and like maybe you're a department head and you want to see your summary budgets by department or some segment, you can set those up to show up right here on the card as soon as you log into Hub. Page by page filtering. There's a walkthrough on the onboarding here as well. It talks about the sidebars, the pages, editing content, the settings, and the administration, which most of y'all, if any, would have access to. Omnibar talks about what some of the different buttons do. The help button. You can drill out to Tyler Coach from here. You've got Tyler Community for additional help topics and discussions. And then there's more here. So you can drill down into quite a bit of information. So yeah, a lot of this stuff you're not going to be administering or updating your own hub cards, but might be good information. Anything else specific there you want to go?
Not in this one. Can you show them coach knowledge?
Yeah, so on the main help, if I click the drop down, as I think I mentioned it earlier, the Tyler Coach. So on some of the agendas for trainings, you've got the prerequisite sessions. Most of these are going to walk you through, and so it's actually Tyler Coach powered by WalkMe, which is a, I guess, educational or learning platform that, when you click on, I don't want budgeting, the process. So if I go down to entering a requisition, it's going to tell you, okay, click financials, click purchasing, click purchase order processing. That one's taking me to the wrong place.
The system often, there's some things that we have customized, and so Knowledge Coach doesn't always work with what we've given. So our guides are be the ones for the main processes that you're going through. But there's some out there that you could just follow through.
Yeah, and the biggest caution on that is once you get into production, this actually will create a transaction. If you like here, if I go in and I click add, yeah, and you can see it's hanging up here. You know, and I go through this, it's actually entering a record into the database. So that, I mean, in tests, no big deal. But once you have access to production, you want to be very careful. If you actually have a requisition and it's been a while and you can't remember exactly how to add it, and you intend to add a record, that's perfectly fine. You know, but otherwise you want to be careful. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else up there that's relevant to end user. Anything else you wanted to cover or mention on that?
Not there. The next thing that I asked Jay to show was Vendor Central. And I'd like you to just think of the word central. You're going to find an account central, you're going to find a requisition central, purchase order central, invoice central. These centrals are where you're going to do a lot of your go to look for transactions, go to look for items. If they don't show up in your approvals, you know, this is going to be how you're going to find a lot of neat things. And so as we go through Vendor Central, we have not provided you the guide yet, but we have guides for our Vendor Centrals that Tammy has created. Vendor Central and all those other centrals. And we'll go ahead and show one, and it's kind of, they're all very similar for whatever area you're looking into. So Vendor Central will be very similar to Accounts Central and Requisition Central.
Yep. So when you go into Vendor Central, and again, it's going to have the search. It's not going to pre-populate the first time, but if you go into the advanced search, new search, you know, and if you're looking for a particular vendor, I mean, this specifically might be sporadic enough that you may not really benefit much from a stored, you know, main screen, unless you're looking at maybe specific vendor types like employees or regular vendors and don't want to see employees one time. You know, maybe that might be the, you know, trigger.
And maybe even active.
Yeah, and maybe a status of active.
Can you go back and show what you clicked on for Vendor Central? I did not see it. Please.
Yep. To get to Vendor Central?
Yes, please.
Yep. So under financials, accounts payable, vendor processing, Vendor Centrals.
And if you don't know, at the top of the Tyler menu again, you can type in right there, Vendor Central, or just type Central, and you'll see all the centrals that are available.
Yep. So if I type Central,
Okay, so I'm hearing some people don't have Vendor Central. Is there anybody that has it? Okay, I will have to look into that and find out how to get that to you, why we don't have it.
and again, especially if you're somebody at the department that might get calls from vendors asking them about, you know, asking you about, has my invoice been entered? Has the check been cut? You know, all of that. This is a good place to be able to go look at that.
Don't have requisition central.
Also keeping in mind that, you know, there's the vendor access that eventually, most likely will be rolled out. Any of the vendors that are registered on vendor access, they don't have to call the departments and you know, have you spend your time looking up their information. They're going to be able to see most of this stuff right on their vendor screen online. It's a third party, or it's Tyler, but it's a separate platform. So they could go in and see what purchase orders they have open, what requisitions are being processed for them, what the remainder is on their purchase orders, what invoices have been entered, what checks have been cut, has the check cleared, all that information. They can go out there, they can see it for themselves without ever having to pick up the phone and call anybody here to research it for them.
And in every one of our centrals, I always point out to the gear at the top.
Yep.
always important to go to that gear in the top right, and I like to select all.
Yep.
So when you're in a central, there's a gear next to the help button in the top right,
Right
next
up
to your
here on the top
initials.
right.
Only have 13.
You only have 13? We'll have to look into that, I don't know.
Yeah. And then down at the bottom, when you do that, you can see what type of history you want to see. Anywhere from 30 days, 60, 90, 120, only current year, the fiscal year, the whole year, or all history for this vendor. Obviously, the longer you go in ERP, the more history you're going to have, so you might not want to inundate yourself with all unless you're specifically looking for something. You know, so maybe 90 or 120 days or even the current year. You know, or maybe 120 days for invoices, P cards and checks, but maybe current year for purchase orders. And then when you click OK, you'll notice also on the left-hand side, you've got the vendor. The main screen is going to show their relevant information, their main legal mailing address, email contacts, any additional contacts. Then you can click on invoices, any invoices that they've had processed for them, checks that have been issued, purchase orders, contracts, additional remittance addresses, 1099 history if there's any, P-card activity if there's any. You know, so you can see all of this just from going to this one Vendor Central screen and pulling up their vendor record. Okay. I think as Benjamin had mentioned earlier too, y'all aren't going to have all of the menu options, really just pretty much what y'all need at the department level for your job functions. And there's quite honestly a lot of them in there for other modules that y'all don't own or wouldn't use that, you know, could pretty much be stripped out. But I believe most of them have been trimmed down to what they need, right?
That's correct. You've got just a very few options. There's no reason to have all these other things that we're not using. If Jay were to look at all of the different options, we're not using most of those. I'm not even going to have them on my menu when all's said and done. As simple as possible, the most important things that you need. If there's anything that you need, you'll have access. So we're cutting it down to just the forms that we need. So yours won't look like Jay's.
Yeah, I've got everything under the sun. So we've got that. So they're not going to do anything as far as managing vendors, just doing the vendor centrals and inquiry, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why Vendor Central is important is because we do have the requirement of countywide purchases for vendors with no contracts. You have to have less than $12,000 countywide. So when you go to Vendor Central, that gear button at the top that Jay had clicked on, it allows him, so here, he's got a vendor. You go find your vendor that you're going to be purchasing. Now he clicks on the gear button in the top right. You should be able to see everyone's transactions here. And I'd like him to select 90 days for checks, because we have not more than $12,000 within 90 days. And so it'd be good before you enter your purchase request to make sure that we don't have an excess over the 12,000. Otherwise, we can't purchase without a contract. So you could call purchasing and say, is there a co-op or something like that? But if there's no co-op, no contract, it has to be less than 12,000 in 90 days by Missouri statute.
Okay. And again, you can extract this out to Excel, which you'll end up with a tab for each of the different activities that are listed here. Nope, I take that back. It's only, this one, you only get the main screen activity. Oh, because I'm on the checks. Nope, that's all that exports to Excel. Okay.
So does anyone have any questions about vendors? I know we don't have access, so it's kind of, we don't really know too much, but the vendor number, I want to make a note of this. If I haven't told you guys, I've been trying to say it every session. The vendor numbers that we have in the test system right now are going to change. So don't write down the vendor number that you're trying to pull up for all your requisitions. We have to, this is a test import to see if it would work. And so right now, Penny is maintaining our vendor records in Eden. At some point, we're going to export all of those vendor records and bring them in again into Munis, and it will reset all the vendor numbers. Once we do that final import, those vendor numbers will stay, and Penny will have to maintain both Eden and Munis until we go live and she drops Eden. So we're going to try to push that off as long as possible, but once we go live, then you can start finding your vendor numbers and writing them down. Until then, don't count on it being the vendor number yet.
So they will be new vendor numbers.
They will be new vendor numbers, so our current vendor numbers in Eden are going away. I know it's kind of tough. You got it, probably little cheat sheets written down with all your vendor numbers. We'll have to redo those, unfortunately.
Okay. Anything else on the vendors you wanted to?
I don't think there's anything else on vendors. Maybe PO change orders. I want to explain this before we go forward. So say you enter a purchase order. Did we talk about PO change orders yet? No? Okay, so I'm repeating myself for all these sessions. I'm getting crazy. Say you enter a purchase order for $100 and you come back and there's a $150 invoice. You missed it. So right now, the process is if it's 10% increase, you send it to the auditor's office and we'll increase it by 10%, right? If it's over 10%, we say, you got to go back and redo it. And so then you got to go in and redo your requisition and purchase order, and so you got to start over. That's going away. In Munis, if you find that your invoice is greater than your purchase order, you can go and make a request inside of Munis to change your purchase order to what you need. And then it's going to go through the same approval process that the requisition did. And so the expenditure authority will say, yep, okay. Purchasing will say, yep, this is fine. Auditor will say, oh, it's fine. And it will create the change to that purchase order. And then now you can enter your invoice for $150. So it does make it easier in some ways. You don't have to start over. You just kind of go in and modify it. And hopefully everybody quickly processes it and it gets done and you're ready to move forward with that invoice at the new amount that you need for that on that purchase order.
Okay. So, and you'll find that under financials, purchasing, purchase order processing, purchase order change orders, right about here.
Can you guys look, those that have computers, can you make sure that you have purchase change orders? Is that what it is? Yeah, purchase order change orders. It's under the purchase order processing. You guys see it? Okay, good.
Okay. So basically you've got your purchase order outstanding out there. You need to increase it.
Oh, you're on purchase order entry, Jay.
Oh, I am. Note, it helps to go to the correct menu option. So the first thing you're going to do when you come out here, you'll notice it's all blank. You're going to search and pull up the purchase order number. I'm just going to do a wide open search. It's going to pull up all of them out there that I have. So you can see there is a pending change order on this one already. These two are closed. Is that all? We only had 3 purchase orders processed and test?
I think so. Maybe there was more, but not very many. Right now we've got workflow turned on, and so that requires your expenditure authorities to start approving them before they can get to us for creating a purchase order. So it's going to be harder to get purchase orders in test now that we have all the approvals set up.
Okay, 1, 2, yeah, that's it. So that one's pending.
So can you actually create one now?
Cannot,
Can you delete the one that's out there that's pending?
not pending. I just tried to delete it. It says PO change order is pending approvals, delete not allowed.
Okay, so give me a second, I'm gonna create a purchase order.
Okay.
Actually, you could do that, Jay. Well, I'll do it. I'll just do it real quick.
I can, are there approved requisitions to convert?
No, there's not any yet.
Yeah, actually, there are two out there.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll convert them real
Do
quick.
this one.
This is a process that Tammy's gonna follow. When the requisition is all the way approved and now it's ready for being turned into a purchase order,
shoot.
Tammy will come in and turn them into purchase orders. Oh, yeah.
They
These
don't have
didn't-
vendors
They
on
didn't
them?
have vendors assigned. I actually rejected them back to the user and said, assign a vendor, please. Please assign a vendor.
Okay, so now we got a couple more out there. Printed.
It should be 9 and 10, there you go.
Yeah. So those say allocated. Yeah, they're not.
What's the matter?
They're not spendable or can't use them.
Oh, do they not have any allocation on them?
Well, they're allocated, but they're not posted and printed.
Upon conversion, it should have posted and printed.
Yeah. I'm not sure if maybe they were rejected, but they wouldn't have shown up in conversion.
So on the one that's pending, can you go ahead and just show that maybe? I don't know if it'll be worth our time to try to get this to go through.
Yeah. Okay, so it's PO automatic approval, the printing was shut off. And the auto posting was shut off. Okay, anyway, so when you're in the change order, you're gonna pull up the purchase order, so the screen will look like this. You're gonna go into line items, and it's gonna look like this. So then you're gonna click add or update, neither of which I can do because it's got a pending change order already on it. But basically, you would add a change line. It's going to require you to put the year, the period, and the reason. And then down here, you're going to change it to a new line position. So maybe you ordered quantity of one, now you're needing 2 goods. So instead of 60, it's 120. Maybe you need to add $4,000 in freight to that line item. So you'd skip the quantity and in the unit price, you would just change it to 64,000. Or actually, you'd put 4,000, the updated amount, I believe that is. And then when you save that, that's going to send that out to workflow. When it's posted, it would change that entire purchase order to the new amount. The printing of those, if you've got one change order, you're gonna have the PO number -1. If there's another change order put in, that reprinted change order is gonna, or that reprinted PO is gonna PO number -2. If there's a third one, a -3, and so forth. So on the printed POs or in the documents in the history, you'd be able to see which one is the newest one, provided there's any change orders. Okay? I'm gonna see if I can Okay, I was able to reopen this one. Not something that most of y'all are gonna do or probably have permission to do. So I changed this one. It was closed previously by full payment. And let's say for some reason, another invoice came in on it, rather than creating a new requisition to purchase order, it was reopened. Now I can go into the line items, add a change order, and that's actually adding a line I want to update. And it's going to ask me, what time period do I want this to post to? Again, I'm using 12/31/2023. Update amount. Okay, so on this side, I want it to be $650. Save it. Oh, it's going to go to the same line. Accept it. And then when I hit back, I'm going to release it, and that's going to put it out in pending, which now it's also in the workflow for the approvals. So again, if you look down here, you're going to see the approvers at each step of the process for that PO change order. Okay. Any
So this is just gonna release it then for the approvals. The approvals then, once they're done, it will, if you were to go search in your purchase order central, you'll see actually two purchase orders. One is the change order, one's the original. When they're done approving the change order and it gets posted, they'll merge back together and you will have that one purchase order that's been updated. And I did an update to security. If you would refresh your menu, so on the Tyler menu, the three dots on the right side, you could go ahead and refresh that and see if you can see the purchase vendor central. I added that to your menu.
So on that 2025006, you can see there's two here. There's the original, and then there's the change order amount.
I can see vendor central, but there's no vendors listed.
There's no what?
There's no vendors listed.
Okay, I'm still looking at that too.
On your menu? Did you refresh the hub? If you go up here in the Tyler menu, and the ellipses, and click the three up and down dots straight to the right of where it says Tyler menu,
It will be blank unless you save
Right here.
an initial search.
and then click refresh there.
I didn't say anything.
All right. What we have left on our agenda is a few things. One is basic reporting. I think that's it, actually. Tyler Coach has already finished. On basic reporting, I want to give you just a general update. The normal reports that we are used to in Eden, we run a vendor, or not a, we run an expenditure status report. That's the report that almost all of us use the most. And then for those that work on the revenue side, maybe for looking at how much money's been received, there's a revenue status report. Those reports, they don't have them in Munis. I've been working with Tyler Support to custom build those reports, and I've gotten to the point where there's some things that are broken that they're helping me fix. We're pretty far along on it, and so that will be something that I expect to be ready by go live, and we'll embed it in somewhere in the menu, and I'll tell you where it is at that point. So that expenditure status report, we look at and it shows us our departments and then how much is personnel, it shows us how much budget is left on our personnel, our main 200 accounts and 300 accounts, and if you have 400. We're gonna build that out and it'll look a little different, so we'll have a guide on how to run it. But overall, the face of it should mostly look like what we run in Eden. My goal is to try to build it almost identical. It'll look a little differently though. So that's the best report that I have found. Well, we're going to build that report. I don't like a lot of the reports that Munis has. And so if we find some that are really beneficial, we'll add them. The Account Central is where we are going to see our expenditure accounts and our revenue accounts. And that's the best place to go in and see how much budget's left. And I don't believe we went over Account Central in this meeting. I believe we went over it with the approvers. So Jay, could you take just a minute and show the Account Central and how we could look up the accounts and the amount of expended money out of each account in our budget? And then the last thing, that is the last thing that I think we have for today. So unless you guys have questions after Jay's done showing this, we'll go ahead and call it a day. So we'll open it up for discussion afterwards.
Okay. So under your financials, general ledger menu, inquiry and reports, you've got Account Central. And again, just like all the other centrals, you can hit advanced search, new search. You know, if you have a consistent department or object code or fund or combination of those that you want to have populate as soon as you open, you know, you could select those, give it a name. And it doesn't have to be the one that is running the search. When you open the application, you can create multiple search segments. So if you had multiple, you just click on, you know, the search and pick which one you wanted to have apply. Okay, so when you come in here and your query provides you the results, you can see the revised budget, the actuals, encumbrance or requisitions, the remaining available, and what percentage of that GL accounts budget's been used. You can click on the export to Excel here. So that will export a summary of the account information for you.
So go up to the advanced search and plug
Up
in
here.
some criteria. So you pick your fund, maybe 100, and then pick your 502 department.
The other thing, and I don't know if you've seen it, or I know we didn't show it in the other classes, the toggle view, if you click that, it gives you a little bit different view. You know, it limits what you're seeing. You're seeing available and percent used rather than all of your lines. Then as you're in each of these, if you click on the account name over here, it will take you into the actual detail of the account. It'll provide you like the last current year and the last 3 of activity for budget, transfers, revised, the actuals, encumbrances, requisitions, and then your available budget. If you click under the transactions, you can see there's all the transactions in this account currently. BUC is budget completion journal. It's the originating budget posting. GNI is a general journal import. That's converted data that we imported. If you had encumbrances, you can click here. You know, if you click into each one of these, you will see what's relevant to that section. Okay. And you'll see it says actual in parentheses memo. The memo more or less means you're going to see unposted transactions. So if somebody's got a journal entry or an AP invoice sitting out there, but it hasn't been posted yet, you would see those here even before, you know, they're not hard posted to the line history, but you do have a column here where it says posted, yes. If that was a case where there's an invoice out there waiting to be approved and posted, that would say no. Okay, but it would show you the true actuals that are out there sitting against that GL account. Any open requisitions that might be out there. So the difference, requisitions are what ERP considers pre-encumbrance. It's not a hard encumbrance, but they separate it out so that, you know, requisitions could be voided, canceled, returned, rejected, may never be processed. But it still earmarks money against the budget. That's why it's got a line there. The purchase orders are obviously a hard posted encumbrance. So those are up here. And again, if you had any POs against this GL account, you would see them over here. Just a good way to kind of data mine. If you wanted to see all the different segments make up this GL account, you can click here and it'll tell you it's Fund 100, General Fund, Department Auditor, Object, Copier Lease Pass-Through, Subline 0, Class Contractor, Group Auditor. Monthly data, there's the histogram, or I'm sorry, line chart, working trend of the budget. Current versus carry forward. That has more to do, it's not going to be relevant right now, but going forward, if you're carrying forward purchase orders with the budget and spending against them, you'll end up with a carry forward amounts and be able to see what's been spent on those versus current year purchase orders. It'll show you a little more activity.
So Jay, on this, can you go to an advanced search and show them how to save for their own department? So to create a customized advanced search and have it pop up on the start of this form.
Yeah, so let's say if you're searching, what's a good department to use?
Let's do treasurer 502.
Okay. So once I select that option, down here, if I put in treasurer.
And then run it on search.
Yep, run it on application start, save it over here, and it'll tell me search saved, and then search. So that's going to bring up all the 502 department GL accounts. Now if I close that, and I open it again, that should open as my default search.
And you can have multiple searches. You see how he has on his advanced, when he went back, where you can, up at the top, he's got 2 searches. So he clicks on advanced search. There's 2 options that he saved previously.
So if you just want like general fund auditor, click that one. And that's general fund auditor department. If I want treasurer, click that one. It just saves you from having to go into the search and pick your options every time. Okay. Or if you wanted to fine tune it, let's say for the treasurer, you wanted to edit that search, and maybe you only want to see the treasurers, not all of their accounts.
Or go to the class. On the class, you may not care to see your payroll accounts all the time because you can't really move budget between them, and so you might pick all those others. And so the payrolls are the 1s, 2s are contractual, 3 commodity, 4 capital.
And again, if you have more, this one only has 24 records. If there was more, you can select to see up to 100 lines per page. So. Okay. Here you can click totals. That's going to give you totals for all of the accounts in that find set. So maybe in that scenario, you need a search on, I don't know. Maybe for some reason you need to see all utility refuse collection accounts, and maybe somebody occasionally calls you and says, you know, how much have we spent on utility refuse across the entire county? You could pull up that query and you can click on totals and tell them, all right, for 2022, we actually spent $2,491,267 on the utilities refuse collection. Okay. Don't know if that helps much, but it's an option.
So the account inquiry is very similar to Account Central. There's all kinds of options on these. I'd encourage you to play around with them. You know, this one you can do some additional search right there in the
Yep.
top bar by filtering. So
Yeah, so this one's toggle filter, so by default it comes in off. If you click on that, and let's say you want to see account starting 224 dash. Within that record set, so it's already searched by the refuse, but I want to see those refuse accounts for 224. By typing in 224 as the fund dash, that's limiting it down to that one E211 object code within the 224 fund. Okay. If I want to see all of them in Department 612, put dash 612 dash, there's two of them, one in general fund, one in fund 224. Okay. So that might be a subset of a search, but not something you would want to save as a saved search, but just be able to do within the screen. Okay. Does that help?
All right, anybody have any questions on Account Central? All right, we have the benefit of hitting both requisition entry and invoice entry in the first session. Kind of was grueling, but gave us more time this afternoon. So we have a half an hour left and we don't need to take it. But do you have any questions, any comments, any issues or concerns that you have? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. We will work on getting more guides to you, and please troubleshoot for us. Go ahead and try, learn the system, plug things in. I know that some of our workflow is not going to the proper approvers, so please let us know if you're seeing that problem on your accounts. And be sure to reach out to us if you have questions. We'll be happy to help and be happy to provide more training if needed. So thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.